Hey everyone, welcome to D20 Woodworking, and today I am going to be ranking all the heroes from Wave 5 of Marvel Champions. This is like the whole Sinister Motives wave, okay? And the reason being is because I thought all the heroes in here are pretty interesting and pretty unique. And I thought this would be kind of a tough ranking to do. So just to put in perspective, it's Ghost Spider, Miles, Nova, Ironheart, SpiderHam, and Spider, right? So that'll be the 6 we are reviewing today, and I'm basically reviewing this as my personal favorites, right? These aren't the ones I think that are the strongest. I'll try to talk briefly about being as objective as possible of how good I think they are and will be in the long run. But this is just my subjective opinion of what I like about them, what I don't like about them. And then I'm going to try to predict the future a little bit too and see if I think they're going to stay in this order or not. So let's dive right in. But before we start, do me a huge favor, scroll down a little bit, hit the like button, hit subscribe, leave a comment. Let me know, your thoughts of this wave if you liked it overall, some of the thoughts of your heroes, of the heroes and whatnot. And, I really appreciate that. So let's start off with the worst one. Right? The worst hero. And the reason I say this person's the worst is because they're good, right? The bad one of this is good overall, right? If we were to do a tier ranking, I think as trying to be as objective as possible, all these heroes are probably like B higher, right? Like if you did like SAB, right? B or higher. So they're all pretty good. So this is just personal preference, but my least favorite one is Nova. If you watch some of my older videos, you know that when Nova was announced, I wasn't super hyped about Nova like a lot of people were. I like the idea of Nova. I like the whole, with his helmet that you can get out pretty fast, which gives him aerial, which I do like. I like the aerial trait a lot. And I like the cards that came in there with pitchback to like kind of help that out. But I like the whole idea of, he can basically generate a resource for free pretty easy with his 5 hand size. A lot of his cards I think are really interesting. Unleash Nova Force I think is like a really cool card from multiplayer. I still haven't really gotten to work for solo play like the way I would want to. Like it's definitely a good card, but just not the way I would want to get it to work. But basically, you use a wild resource and you can use half of his cards for half the price, which is kind of the whole appeal to him. It's really kind of cool. It's a neat system. It's different. I just think another hero came out later on that kind of already did this system better, which we'll get into in a little bit. But yeah, so Nova is my worst hero. I still think he is really strong. I think as far as if you were comparing all of the heroes for solo play, he's probably in the top half easily. As far as like trying to be as objective as possible of strength, I think he's still up there. But for me personally, he's the worst one of this cycle. And I think moving forward, I think if they keep feeding aerial cards into him, that he'll be good. And I'll like some of the stuff with him, but I don't know. I'm not like overly impressed by him or anything like that. So yeah, he's my worst one. So next up we have Spider-Man Miles Morales. Now, to be fair, this hero got a bad rap for me in the beginning because of the way that they made his pre-con deck with half shield cards, and he was like trying to do 2 different things because they didn't have all the web warrior cards out yet. So they were trying to do this whole thing with shield, and for me it put like a weird taste in my mouth about it because it felt like I was trying to do 2 different things. I didn't like fully grasp it at first, and then later on I finally got like his whole gimmick, and especially when it works against steady heroes, right? The fact that you can put a confuse and a tough, or a confuse and stun on a steady villain, and like cards like Arachnobatics, right, will end up doing 8 damage for 1 cost, right, is insane. And he can stun enemies and confuse enemies pretty easily. His whole kit is pretty good. It's pretty interesting. I like the way that it works. As far as buying the pack itself, it's kind of weird that most of it was shield cards. Now, I do appreciate those shield cards because they work well with other heroes. It was just weird at first. So I actually think Miles will continue to move up, I think. Because I just need to dive into him more. Now, some of the biggest weakness with Miles really is if you go against a stalwart, villain, right? Stalwart is going to take away most of his ability to do a lot of like his cool stuff. And a lot of heroes have this problem, to be fair, but that's kind of like the biggest gripe, I guess, against him. But I do think he's going to move up. He started off poorly with me, and that's my fault. But so as of right now, he's ranked, 5th out of 6 heroes. All right, so next up, we have one of my most anticipated heroes. I absolutely love her, and that is Gwen Stacy's Ghost Spider. Now, what I like about this the most is probably the thing that I'm going to dislike about it, I think, eventually. is that she is incredibly strong in protection, right? The fact that you can protect and then do something like ghost kick, right? While you're protecting, it's kind of a whole system that's kind of unique, right? During your turn, you don't really do a whole ton per se. But during the enemy turn, you do a lot. And as a defensive hero, I think she's phenomenal. Now, I thought cards like Ticket to the Multiverse was going to be a bigger thing. I still haven't really gotten that to work. I don't know if that's just me and I'm playing something wrong. But I think, her deck overall, I think is a lot of fun in protection. My biggest worry with her was and is that she could be kind of like pigeonholed in there, right? That you would try other aspects and they wouldn't 100% make sense. Now, to be fair, recently I've tried Groot in a Justice deck, and I actually really like that. I like Groot in Justice a lot, but that's mainly for trying to keep his counters up really high. So I don't know if that same system will work well with Ghost Spider. It'd be really interesting. But that's my biggest fear, right? And I had that's a time will tell thing. If I can keep playing Ghost Spider in different aspects and she keeps getting better and better and better, then she's going to move up this list. If I can only play her in protection, it's the only thing that feels right and feels good. She's probably going to stall out, maybe fall down a little bit, unfortunately. Now, of course, if I want to play a really fun protection deck, I'm going to go to her, right, every single time. But it just thinks when you feel like a hero is really pigeonholed only in one aspect. If it's 2 or 3, that's a lot better. But when it's just one, it kind of stinks. So. Anyway, she is the number 4 spot on my list, finishing up the bottom half. So let's start with the top half, and number 3 is Peter Porker's SpiderHam. I had a gut feeling this deck was going to be strong. I didn't realize how strong, and SpiderHam is stupidly strong. If you watch my review video of SpiderHam, I talk a lot about this, just how incredibly strong SpiderHam is. I played even more games of SpiderHam since that video, and he's absurdly strong. Now, I still think the same problem persists with SpiderHam as of right now, which is I just want to play his cards in basic gray cards. The aspect cards, I play him in every aspect now. I don't really care what aspect he is. Like, there's very few cards in those aspect hands where I go, oh, I really want to get that aspect card out. I want to get his cards out. I want to get basic gray cards out. And this I think will eventually lead to SpiderHam slowly coming down this list. But as of right now, it's really fun to just beat up on heroes, right? Now that I've kind of figured him out with Ronin, he's crushing Ronin. Like, it's not even fair anymore. It's nuts. Now, again, expert's still a challenge with some of the villains out there. But for the most part, I just think SpiderHam is grossly strong. Which, okay, sidebar, really quick. I have a running theory on this. This hero was announced on April 1st as kind of a joke, and I think it's meant to be taken as this is a joke hero. And as a joke hero, it's kind of one of those things where they made him really strong, I think on purpose, as a way of like, hey, this game beats you down a lot. You use all these serious heroes and they beat you down and you keep figuring out, what if we just gave you a hero that was like this joke hero and you could just beat on almost any villain on standard, right? I wonder if that was a part of the strategy. I don't know if it was. I have no insider knowledge. It's just my weird, crazy theory that I have, but it wouldn't surprise me because of how strong he is and how simple he is to do. And I mentioned before with Nova, how Nova can generate resources. SpiderHam can do it much faster. Just straight up can do it faster by taking damage, by recovery, by a bunch of his cards. He can just do it faster. And it makes him super powerful, not only for just what the tune counters do when you can remove a tune counter to do something a little extra with your cards, or just use your cards in general. But the fact that you can just use it as resources and there's no limits to it, it makes it way too strong in my opinion. So anyway, SpiderHam's number 3, but I think I'll fall down eventually because I think I'm going to get bored kind of doing the same thing over and over. Now, number 2 is probably my biggest surprise, I would say, because this hero, I know a lot of people were hyped for. I was nervous about because I couldn't wrap my head around it when I read their their introductory article or whatever on Fantasy Flight. But number 2 is Penny Parker's Spider. I really like Spider. I think it's the first time in a long time where I really had to think about things differently, where I had to decide if I wanted to use these cards as resources. I wanted to use them for their actual benefit that they have as an interrupt. It's really neat decisions, and the fact that you can keep readying her up pretty easily for the most part, especially when you build her out, I think is really cool. I like the slow build with her. I think it works really well. And I like that you can get her to work in basically any aspect. And I think this is the key for her longevity of how good she'll be in the future. Because yes, her cards are good and I want to get them out there, but I feel like the vast majority of them are there to support either her just like attacking and thwarting, but also to support other aspect cards you would get out there, right? It's the exact opposite of SpiderHam, which is what I really appreciate about Spider. Yes, you can generate a lot of resources eventually, right? You can't do it as fast as SpiderHam, but SpiderHam, you focus on his deck and his gray cards, and that's it. Versus Penny Parker, I feel like, yes, the gray cards are important. Yes, her cards are important, but the aspect cards are really important. You really have to pay attention to them, and they're fantastic. And because you can generate so many resources, right? You can play those really strong, like 4 cost aspect cards, right? That most people can't. She can, and I think that's really, really cool. And honestly, I think that she will be up there in the future for the long run. I definitely think so, because she's a lot of fun. Every time I played her, it's a lot of fun. And again, it felt like a truly unique version of the hero that I haven't played in quite some time. All right, so excuse me. All right, so let's move on to my number one hero. And if you have heard my reviews or heard me talk on Twitch or anything like that, you know this is my number one, and that's Riri Williams, Ironheart. So I've seen some complaints on Reddit and Facebook and Instagram and some other places where they think Ironheart's kind of this one note hero, right? You just kind of upgrade to the different versions and that's it, and you just kind of build her out. Yeah, sure. I mean, there's some truth to that, sure. I don't necessarily completely disagree with that. But the thing is, I think she's a lot of fun, right? I think it's fun, this like little mini game you play in the beginning where it's racing through the versions. How quickly can you get up there while trying to control the board, right? While trying to build out, while trying to use whatever aspect, and she works well in pretty much all aspects. I haven't really used her in protection. That was the only one I really hadn't, but I don't see why she wouldn't work in protection. But she's just incredibly strong. She's an incredibly strong hero when she's built out, right? A 3/2/3, 6 hand size, 10 hit points. She's fantastic in my opinion. She's absolutely fantastic. I really, really I love playing her. And again, it was another hero that when it came out, it was like, okay, cool. They're doing something different. This is something really unique that we haven't seen yet. I'm really on board. And I like balancing out the version upgrades with what cards you're going to play and how you're going to get progress and how you're going to flip over and do different things. Like, I like all this. I really like her cards. I like the system. And I just like what she's doing overall, I guess is what I should say. I just really enjoy it. I've done leadership, aggression, and justice with her, and every single one was fun. Every single one was enjoyable. I haven't really done protection, like I said, but that might work. But for me right now, this is honestly, Ironheart's probably one of my favorite heroes. And I don't know how long it will stay like that, because I do kind of get the sentiment of, well, it gets kind of boring eventually, because once you level up to a version 3, like, you win almost all the time. Not all the time, but almost all the time, right? And I get that. I truly do. But to me, that's a part of the fun, right? Is trying to juggle so many different things at once. I think this is the same fun with Spider. And maybe this is what I just like in my heroes now, is I don't like to just build up a board and then, take on the villain. Maybe I do like juggling all the different intricacies of that hero while building on my board, while taking on the villain. And maybe that's just enough difference for me to make it really cool and really interesting. So anyway, like I said, if you want to do me a huge favor, go down in the comments. Let me know your thoughts on my list. Let me know what your list is. I'm truly interested, because I think this was a really good cycle overall. I think they've set the bar really high as far as unique heroes. Like I said, all these heroes are pretty darn unique and interesting. When Miles and Gwen are probably your least interesting heroes, I think that's saying something, because I think they were pretty interesting and pretty good. So I definitely think this was a really good cycle overall. And be interested to see what they do with Mutant Genesis, and they can keep this rolling. So like I said, scroll down, let me know your thoughts. Make sure to hit the like button, make sure to hit subscribe, and thanks for watching the video.